Well, hi there, everyone. Welcome to Real Sports Live. I'm Wesley Ruff alongside Dana Green. And, you know, just let me say, it was a pretty mellow, peaceful Sunday afternoon. And it was shaken up by the announcement from Quin Snyder that he was resigning after 8 years as head coach.
Now, we figured since the contract extension had not been signed that maybe something like this was brewing, but it is the end of an era for the Utah Jazz, no doubt. Quin Snyder took over the head coaching job 8 years ago, inherited a team that had just won 25 games and turned them into perennial playoff contenders. But today announced he was stepping down with 2 years left on his contract. Snyder leaves the Jazz as the second all-time winningest coach in team history, only behind the Hall of Famer Jerry Sloan. Snyder said it was just time for a new voice. Yeah, he took the Jazz to 6 straight playoffs, which was the longest streak in the Western Conference, but they never got out of the second round. The Jazz had the best overall record in the NBA 2 years ago. They regressed this season, losing to Dallas in the first round in 6 games. And an ESPN report says Donovan Mitchell is, quote, unsettled, unnerved, surprised, and disappointed. That's a little unnerving. Quin Snyder released a statement today saying, I strongly feel they need a new voice to continue to evolve. That's it. No philosophical differences, no other reason. After 8 years, I just feel it is time to move onward. I needed to take time to detach after the season and make sure this was the right decision. So, Wes, were you surprised about this decision from Quin Snyder?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I was, especially the timing of it. It seemed bizarre that it happened today. I don't know. I'm glad it happened soon enough that the Jazz are going to be able to find a new head coach. We'll talk about that in just a second. But, we'd heard the rumors. There was nothing concrete, however, and he just out of the blue said he was going to be done. And I don't know if he's going to go try and coach someplace else. There's only one other vacancy right now in the NBA, and that's with Charlotte.
Yeah.
I don't know that he wants to go coach Charlotte. Maybe he does. Maybe he wants to take a year off and just recharge his batteries.
Maybe he's going to wait for Greg Popovich to step down after this season and take over the Spurs. I think it was clear that this team had gone as far as it could go with its current makeup. They were healthy going into the playoffs this year. They had Rudy Gobert, they had Donovan Mitchell, they had a healthy Mike Conley, and they couldn't get out of the first round. I agree. I think he said, and this is an amicable departure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all going to be there at the press conference tomorrow. It's definitely leaving on pretty good terms, I think. It's just that this team had gone as far as it can go with this current makeup. I think Quin said, like he said, it's time for a new voice.
Yeah, and I talked about this plenty of times with other people. Frank Layden told me 5 years after he resigned as Utah Jazz head coach that he thought he had taken the Jazz as far as they could go, that they couldn't win anymore. 48 games winning was about their ceiling. But then Jerry Sloan takes over. They win 50 games. They win 55 games. They start going deeper in the playoffs. And Frank was surprised because he said, I thought I was getting the most out of the team. But maybe it takes another guy to get even more out of the team. So maybe the next guy can take the Jazz even further past the second round in the playoffs.
I think we need to appreciate all that he's done, though. I mean, that team was in shambles when he took over. And at some point during his tenure, they were #1 in offense and #1 in defense. Not many coaches can boast that.
Yeah, so the Quin Snyder era is officially over. Where do the Jazz go from here? Well, there are some names that have already been surfacing. In no particular order, you've got current Jazz assistant coach Alex Jensen. He has to be considered. There's former Jazz assistant coach and current Knicks assistant Johnny Bryant from the University of Utah. Former Portland Trailblazer head coach Terry Stotts was with the team. He's said to be a candidate. And Boston assistant Will Hardy. Danny Ainge has a connection to him. Dana, what do you think the Jazz are going to do?
I think the Jazz are going to go with a proven assistant up-and-coming coach, an Alex Jensen or a Will Hardy or Adrian Griffin with the Toronto Raptors is another name that's being thrown out there. I know Terry Stotts has won over 400 games with Portland and taken them to a conference final, and he's a defensive-minded coach. He was a finalist for the Lakers job. I just think they want to go with someone a little younger, someone that maybe Danny Ainge has a connection to in Boston, like a Will Hardy. I think the Jazz knew that this was going to be a possibility. I think they've done a lot of research about this. They're going to interview as many guys as they can. I think they're going to make a decision pretty quickly.
It's going to be interesting to see if they stick with somebody in the Jazz family tree, like an Alex Jensen, Johnny Bryant, or if they go outside, bring in somebody new, somebody fresh.
Well, it depends. Does Donovan Mitchell have a say in this? Is he going to be consulted very close with Johnny Bryant?
I think Mitchell's people want him to have a say in this.
Yeah.
I think the Jazz are going to have to say, this is our decision. It's not your decision, Donovan Mitchell.
But they don't even know if Mitchell's going to be there in a few years.
Yeah, but then does Donovan say, okay, if I don't get a say, do I leave? Yeah. It's going to be complicated.
And Rudy Gobert, big fan of Alex Jensen. I mean, he helped make him the big man that he is, an all-star.
And Alex Jensen was coach of the year in the G League.
And he's coached the Jazz. He coached them when Quin Snyder had COVID. So this is why they make the big bucks and we don't. It's going to be a very, very tough decision.